Okay, everybody, there have been some big changes in the real estate industry, mainly centered around real estate buyer agent commissions and how they get paid from now on. And as a home buyer, you've probably had some concerns about it. So today, I'm going to give you my take on it and hopefully give you a little peace of mind. Now, before I go into all the minute little details, the main thing that you as a buyer need to know is that from now on, you're going to have a written agreement with an agent before they can show you a home. And I know that's a huge change from the old days when you just call up some random agent and say, "Hi, I saw this house I'd like to look at. Can you show it to me today around 2?" And you could usually find an agent who'd say, "Heck yeah," and jump in his car in 2 seconds flat. And to be honest, you might still find an agent who'll do that, but now you're going to have to sign some paperwork before they're going to let you in through that front door. And more about that in a minute. So in case you haven't heard, there was a class action lawsuit brought against the National Association of Realtors a while back by a group of home sellers who basically said they didn't know that real estate agent commissions were negotiable and that they felt forced to pay a buyer's agent in order to list their home for sale. And because of the settlement that was agreed to, from now on, all real estate commissions have been decoupled, which is a fancy way of saying that everybody's going to be responsible for paying their own agent, theoretically making the whole process a whole lot more transparent. So the way that it used to work is that a listing agent would sit down with a home seller, work out all the details of listing the property, and then negotiate a commission amount that their brokerage would get paid. In that same contract, there was a spot where they told the seller how much of that commission was going to be paid to a buyer's agent who brought a successful buyer. And then that information went into the multiple listing system for everybody to see. And what that meant for buyers is that they never needed to worry about paying for their own representation because it was being paid for them by the seller. And honestly, I kind of feel like you could argue that one either way, depending on your point of view. You could say that the seller's paying for it because they're using the money from the sale of the house, but you could also argue that the buyer's paying for it because the money's coming out of their pockets. So, potato, potato. But regardless how it used to be, it ain't that way no more. From now on, both parties are going to be 100% responsible for paying their own agent. Now, the seller's going to sit down with their agent and negotiate the selling commission, and then they'll have the option of deciding how much they're willing to offer to a buyer to compensate their agent, or if they'd rather not offer anything at all and just wait and see how much the buyer asks for. And in the interest of full transparency, if the seller does offer any compensation, that information cannot be listed anywhere in the multiple listing system. So nobody, except the seller and their agent, actually know how much is being offered or if anything is being offered at all. Because it's so darn transparent, nobody actually gets to see it. So helpful. And if you're a home buyer, well, from now on, you now have to have some kind of written agreement with an agent before they can show you any homes. And that agreement, among other things, is going to spell out the amount of compensation that you are agreeing to pay your agent. But before you get too excited, these agreements are pretty darn flexible. I mean, nobody's saying that you have to commit yourself to a total stranger before you even know if they're any good at what they do, or if you even like them well enough to want to work with them long term. Your buyer's agreement can be set up for a single home, like 123 Easy Street, or a particular period of time, like a single day of showings, or even for a particular area, like Marion County, Florida. It's all completely negotiable between you and your agent, as long as it has these 4 things. 1, it has to spell out the amount or rate of compensation that your agent is going to get, and how that amount gets determined. 2, the amount of compensation can't be open-ended. It has got to be a specific amount or a specific percentage, and not just whatever the seller's offering. 3, it also has to have terms that prohibit the agent from receiving compensation from any source that exceeds the amount that the two of you have agreed on. And 4th, it has to say that broker fees and commissions are fully negotiable and not set by law. Other than that, you and your agent can pretty much structure it however you want to. Just make sure that your agent goes over all of it before you sign anything, and make sure that you understand it completely before signing. And yeah, it's a drag, and it is a definite pain in the you-know-what. But it is what it is, and there's no way around it. We just have to muddle through as best we can. So right about now, most every home buyer watching is probably in a mild state of panic, because you're thinking, how on earth am I going to come up with the money to pay my agent on top of the down payment, the closing costs, and all the other costs of buying a home? And the answer to that is, well, pretty much the same way we always did. For years, if a home buyer didn't have all the funds they needed to pay for everything, then their agent just negotiated with the seller to cover those costs by way of a concession. And paying a buyer's agent is basically just another cost for buying a home like any other closing cost. The difference is that before, we knew in advance how much the seller was willing to pay because it was posted in the multiple listing system and it had already been negotiated through their agent. So we didn't need to ask for it on the offer. And now, of course, it may or may not have been negotiated and it may or may not even be offered. So yeah, it's going to be a little more of a crapshoot. But making an offer on a home was always kind of a crapshoot. You never had any guarantees that the seller would take your offer, and sometimes if they did accept, it was only after a few rounds of negotiation. And it's not going to be any different now. Your agent's going to write up the offer that works best for you, and then they'll negotiate on your behalf with the seller until you come to an agreement that works for everybody. And if you can't come to an agreement, then you just move on to the next house, same as before. Of course, there's always the possibility that the seller won't agree to credit you with the full amount of the buyer's compensation that you've agreed to pay your agent. And in that case, you might have to come up with a difference or move on to another home. But I expect that most sellers, when presented with a good offer, are going to be more than willing to offer a concession to cover your buyer's agent's commission. As of right now, in this area at least, that's pretty much what we're seeing. Because let's face it, buyers have more inventory to choose from right now. And when a buyer's looking at 2 homes and one seller agrees to pay for their agent's compensation and one flat out refuses, which one do you think they're going to go with? Yeah, me too. And if all else fails, then you and your agent can have a talk about maybe amending the buyer-broker agreement. I mean, when all is said and done, your agent wants you to get the house. As long as the compensation amount is fair, I doubt many agents are going to just flat out refuse to amend your agreement if there are no other alternatives, and that's what it takes to get you into your dream home. Of course, you could tell your agent not to show you any homes where the seller isn't offering buyer's agent compensation up front. But honestly, I think that's a mistake. I mean, A, you're going to be narrowing down your options when it comes to finding the right home, and B, nobody actually knows what a seller is going to do once they're presented with an offer on their home. Not even the seller. Because lots of things can change once a seller gets an actual written offer. If I had a nickel for every time that a seller told me at a listing appointment, I won't take a dime less than 1,000,000 bananas for my house, and then along comes a buyer and submits a written offer for 900,000 bananas. And here's the seller looking at that nice, shiny offer with that big, bold 900,000 bananas written on it. And suddenly they realize that maybe, just maybe, 900,000 bananas now beats waiting for 1,000,000 bananas that may or may not show up later. And they signed that offer for 900,000 bananas. So why limit yourself? After all, one of the things that you're hiring your agent for is to negotiate on your behalf. So let them negotiate on their behalf too. Negotiating is a huge part of our job description, so just let your agent do their thing. Now, I think that you can guess with all these changes, it's going to be more important than ever to choose the right agent for your situation. You're going to want an agent who knows the area that you're looking in, that knows the local market, and you're also going to want to hire somebody that you're really comfortable with and that you trust to advise you throughout the process. And people might hate on me for saying this, but I suggest that you also give heavy consideration to an agent who's been in the market for at least a couple of years and isn't a brand new agent. I mean, yeah, everybody's got to learn sometime, but do you really want to learn at your expense? Maybe not. But do you even really need a buyer's agent? Maybe yes, maybe no, but probably yes. And of course, you'd expect me to say that because I am a real estate agent. But a good buyer's agent is going to do a whole lot more for you than just help you find the right property and open the door. They're going to do the research to find out about permits, property history, potential flood areas, homeowners associations, you name it. They're going to help you evaluate the actual property and the area it's in. When you view the home, they're going to help you look for any potential issues and advise you on potential resale value. And when you find the right home, then they're going to evaluate comparable properties and help you craft your best offer. And then they're going to negotiate in your best interest to get you a contract on that property. They'll help you find all the different trades that you're going to need, like lenders, home inspectors, and surveyors. And once you're under contract, they're going to help guide you through the process, making sure that you meet all your deadlines so you don't risk losing your escrow deposit. After your home inspections, they'll help you go over the report and help you decide if you need to ask for repairs and which ones to ask for. And then they'll negotiate again to get those repairs done for you or to get you a credit so you can have them done yourself after closing. They'll coordinate with your lender and the title company, and they're going to help you understand all the paperwork that you're going to be getting along the way. And a good agent will have experience to know when something's a major issue and when it's just a minor hiccup, so you don't have to worry about it. A good buyer's agent will keep everything running smoothly so that you can concentrate on getting yourself ready for the big move. So if you're looking for a home in or around Ocala and Marion County, Florida, and you do feel like you need a buyer's agent to represent you, or if you just have questions about all the changes, I'm happy to help. My contact information is right down there in the description. I can't promise to have all the answers because this is all new to everybody and most everybody is still kind of figuring it out. But I promise to give it my best shot, and my best shot is usually pretty good, even if I do say so myself. So until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.